Hello and welcome to Working with Miniatures. I'm Jim, and tonight we're going to be painting Spider-Man vs. Doctor Octopus from Marvel Crisis Protocol's Rival panels. We'll primarily be using Army Painter Speed Paints and Warpaints. Let's get started. This terrain setting was previously primed black followed by zenithal sprays of gray and then white. As I was painting this terrain, I constantly jumped back and forth between different sections and it made for a nonsensical jumble. Instead, I've reordered the video to show each section from beginning to end, bringing order to the chaos. For the I-beams, pipes, and girders, I started with the base coat of Chaotic Red. For the I-beam and the clutches of the Doctor Octopus miniature, I base coated that one with Poppy Red instead. I didn't have a reason to do so other than I painted them on different days and assumed I'd remember what I used, and I did not. The red objects are then dry brushed and stippled with Abomination Gore, and again to a lesser degree with Pure Red. I then stipple the dry Rust Effects paint and finish the red objects with edge highlights of Mars Red. The hazard lines and light are base coated with Daemonic Yellow. Out of the Army Painter yellows, this to me is the most versatile of the yellow paints. Moondust and Arid Earth are both great yellows, but they're better for highlights than a vibrant base coat. Fire Lizard, Basilisk Brown, and Bay Blonde have too much medium on them and are extremely transparent, even after following Army Painter's instructions to dump some of the medium. Minutes of shaking with my Vortex Shaker changes nothing. These are functionally pre-thinned glazes ready to go. The signs and lettering of the mounted sign are painted matte black. In retrospect, I wish I simplified my colors by not using matte black at all and instead used the mix of silver speed paint with black speed paint as I did with the chains and arm of the crane, just to reduce the amount of paints I had on my desk. The same can be said of the rebar and the electrical boxes I base coated grim black. All of these items should have been base coated the same and highlighted in the same manner, as they look nearly identical in the end anyway. This would have also saved room on my palette. For the wood, I started with the base coat of Satchel Brown, which turned out to be too dark. I had to bring some brightness back by wet brushing Oak Brown, which I mostly managed to keep out of the recesses, before following it up with a few highlights. The webbing was only a speed paint followed by a dry brush of very light gray. Compared to the rest of the terrain, it is the lightest area and there's so little of it that I did not tarry any further. If you've been to this channel before, you may recognize this as one of my frequent go-to combinations, typically for bones. In this instance, however, I left off the final highlight of Brain Matter Beige. For the canisters, I made the same mistake I did with the metal areas by needlessly introducing another speed paint color in Ghillie Doo. I had already used Shamrock Green for Doc Ock, so it was already at hand. To add insult to injury, I shaded and highlighted the canisters with the same colors used for Doc Ock. Since they are the only two green objects and they are on opposite sides of the terrain, it would have been fine if they were the same color. Another missed opportunity to make my life simpler. The concrete for the terrain and bases for two miniatures are done the same, base coated with noble skin, followed by two dry brush highlights. I finished the terrain with a stippling dry brush of dry rust on the metals and a pen wash of Mr. Weathering's multi-black and solvent anywhere there's a crack or a crevice. This is the final result. With the exception of the reoccurring mistake of using similar and unnecessary colors, I don't have many negative feelings towards my work on this. I purposely used fewer colors so as to not detract from the miniatures taking the spotlight when they're placed on it. If I had more time, I'd probably put another 4 hours into the terrain, particularly the green canisters and the light and crane. I thought 2 weeks was enough to paint the box set, but I'm almost out of time, and it's time to move on to Spider-Man. That's going to wrap it up for today. I hope you learned something or inspired to start or expand your own collection. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And if you like the content of this video and would like to see more, please like, share, and subscribe. I'm Jim with Working with Miniatures. I'm truly grateful for your time, and I bid you a fond farewell. Until next video.